Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to this LinkedIn Live Playing to Win Practitioners Insight. This is the 12th. Can't believe it. It's like flying by of our series. We don't know how many we're going to do. We're at 12 right now. We're going to keep going as long as people are enjoying it. But welcome, Roger, to the 12th show. It's great to have you.
Welcome, Tiffany. No, it is great. It's great to be doing this again.
So we are going to have a conversation about a topic called beyond network economics. And, when Roger's like, hey, maybe we should talk about this. I'm like, okay. I remember when I read it. I don't have my MBA, not an academic in the classic sense. So I was intrigued by learning that networking economics was the foundation for a lot of things I actually talk about, but I didn't know the history of it. So before we dive into network economics, if you wouldn't mind, ground me and everyone else who may not know about it in the work of Theodore Vail and how this all came about.
Yeah, the idea of network economics, which is all a rage these days, actually started with Theodore Vail 100 years ago, who was then running the Bell telephone system, and what he posited was that a network, which he was running, a telephone network, it becomes more valuable disproportionately when you add another user to the network. So if in the early days of telephone, hardly anybody had a telephone, it was a less valuable network than later when more people had a telephone. In fact, when virtually all people had a telephone, then it became enormously valuable because you could always find a person on that network, talk to a person on that network. And then it sort of grew from that, and a guy named Metcalfe created Metcalfe's law that said that the cost of a network increases at n. So you adding another person to the network will cost you n, and the value is n squared. And so networks get exponentially more valuable. This had a big impact on strategy, especially in the tech era, where essentially the idea was, gee, if we can understand a user need really well enough to design a product, especially an online product for them, like Facebook, and we can add people to Facebook, and have more people on Facebook than on any other similar platform, we will have network economics going for us, right? And we will, as we get bigger and bigger and bigger and way bigger than anybody else, our costs per user drop, and the value per user goes up because there are more people on Facebook that they can communicate with. And so what became the entire story in Silicon Valley startups essentially was, can we race ahead of everybody else in building the biggest network of users? And so this is where you got freemium models. Let's give it away for free. Let's be Google. Let's give it away for free. Let's be eBay. Let's give it away for free so that we get more people on the network, and that network will be more valuable, and it'll be more valuable. So eBay will be more valuable than some online marketplace that has a tenth the network size of eBay. So that is sort of, and that's just because all these tech companies are, and people talk about platforms. They're a platform that has network economics going for it. So because so many of the most valuable companies in the world are platforms that have a network of users. So even though Apple makes iPhones, which is a device, the App Store has network economics going for it. If enough people have an iPhone, it'll make sense for you to put your app on and pay Apple a fee for a rev share for having it on that, because there's a big network of people that are using it.
And so is it, if I were to play that back a little bit, as on the, all right, it costs you $1 million to build that platform. Yes. And every customer you add, the cost of servicing the customer goes down and down and down, right? So let's just say it's $2.99 a month for something.
Yes.
And it costs them $5 a month to serve you
Yes.
day one. By the time they get to their whatever 100,000th customer, it's now costing them 50 cents to serve you, and they're charging you $2.99. So
Exactly.
upside down, right? Like how long was Amazon not profitable, right? It's sort of upside down. And how long can you hang on until the cost of those investments starts to actually flywheel your ability for profitability, right?
Yeah.
For people, the less expensive.
And it needed a different kind of financing. That's I've written about this, West Coast versus East Coast financing. The East Coast financing, the money managers there say, what are your quarterly earnings? They have to be positive and they have to be going up. And West Coast financing says, are you building a platform that is going to have a network economics going for you? If you are, lose a few $billion, $10 billion, no problem. We can finance that, because when you get to the other side and you get that cost per user down to nearly zero, will be minting money. And so it's in many ways, two worlds colliding in terms of how they think about companies. And Jeff Bezos, his true genius was explaining to the capital markets that don't worry about this whole making a buck thing. That'll come later with time, right?
Yeah, it's
And
like, hey, power company, don't worry about my bill. It'll come.
yes, it'll
It
come.
doesn't work, right? But
Yeah.
and I don't know, I wonder now, do you think now someone I know there's a lot that are sort of upside down and getting a lot of funding and, et cetera. It doesn't mean they're profitable right out of the gate, even though they're getting funding. But is there a side effect of network economics that's, either positive or negative as people try to build out this capability and the scale?
Well, there sort of kind of limits to it. I mean, you have to have you have to keep on collecting people and having them essentially fit into what your network kind of wants to provide them, and what has become is that companies look and try to deeply understand their users so that they can make them sticky on the platform. That's Facebook's, Instagram's, that's their tour de force is being able to do those things, and some of those effects are not necessarily awesome for society, but that is what they do. In order to maximize the value of the network once they've built the N of all these people up to the level they have.
Well, it also allows you to get deeper into understanding what customers want, right? If you only have 10 customers, hard to be like, I know 10, great. I got to find 10 more. It's just not going to scale. But
Yes.
is this lend itself to the, minimal viable product, the MVP of get something out there and you're just constantly testing this N, right? Because if you start to get this network effect, you have the ability to say, I can now design features that I know users want. I can see where the hockey stick started to really pick up and maybe then it started to plateau. I need something else. And so it's constantly pushing your ability to say, the N, right? I'm getting more customers, clients, patients, students, app developers, whatever the N equals, right? From a client perspective. And then I want to learn about it so it can help me make my financials better and I can continue to develop what they may want next, right? Because if it's just online storage and that's all it is, it's a race to the Moore's equation of it gets cheaper and cheaper as time goes on. You're going to make less. But if you have storage and then you're adding on top of it, and so the value is going up, your ASP can go up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, that's should make the company that has the biggest network, so the most positive network effect, it should buy them the option that if they keep understanding their customer, addressing their needs better and better, and increasing their value, it should be unassailable, right? In fact, network economics would say that you should head towards monopolization, and so Facebook should be utterly unstoppable because it's so far ahead of everybody else, and it's more practiced at understanding users and delivering the user experience that they want, right? That's what should happen. But why the title of the article is Beyond Network Economics is there's a really big anomaly, right? And that anomaly is TikTok, because TikTok, yes, and in the modern world, we spend most of our time thinking about what's around the regression line because that's what fits. And so we say network economics is what rules kind of all the time, right? But there are these anomalies, and TikTok is an anomaly where when it was dramatically smaller than Facebook or Instagram, the two big meta properties, it should have been in a situation where Facebook could stomp it out. And we have history of that, right? Where when Snapchat came along with a feature that people really loved, what did Facebook do, Tiffani?
Well, it copied it.
It copied it absolutely shamelessly, and kind of crushed Snapchat. It's still around, but its spectacular growth got slowed. It should have been able to do that, but it hasn't with TikTok, right? TikTok. Sometime this year we'll have more minutes spent on it in America by users than Facebook, right? It's an existential threat to the very heart of Facebook. And so the question is, if it didn't have network economics going for it, Facebook did, and Facebook did the thing to it. So, it came out with Reels to try and replicate the TikTok product, and it's a good product, arguably that it has as good features as TikTok, but it hasn't been able to stop TikTok's advance. And this is not the only kind of case of this, but it's a big important anomaly. And the takeaway of myself and a group of thinkers I'm working with from a company called Red Associates, a cool little Danish design innovation strategy firm, our view is that what TikTok figured out and other bright companies are figuring out is that you don't collect users as completely as individuals. And that's been the theory behind network economics. If I can get Tiffani to sign on, if I can get Roger to sign on, what does Roger need? What does Tiffani need to sign on? And instead, TikTok has created a world, right? A world that has its own norms and conventions, ways of interacting with others, ways you do things and don't do things that people want to be a part of, and they value the other people in that world and want to associate themselves with other people in that world. And it turns out that the value of being in that world is so much higher, right, that TikTok has been able to overcome the network economics to grow, and now it doesn't have a network economics problem anymore. It's virtually as big as the platforms it's competing against. I mean, it has political problems, but from a business side, it doesn't. It has overcome those by thinking about the creation of a coherent world where you prefer to be a TikToker than an Instagrammer. It just feels better, and it's created all of these subworlds within that, while Facebook is just collecting people or losing people kind of one at a time. And its formula is give the people the features that they want, and they will come. And that's not winning the way it was supposed to.
So how is it applicable to somebody who might be listening to this is like, I don't have a platform play, right? Like I have a product that's not a platform. I sell a widget. I sell baseball hats. I sell, cruises. I sell, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, so is the platform, the concept of the platform Is it applicable to, I have a customer base that's my N, and I am selling, and if I had more of in my customer base, I could naturally, I mean, if you listen to the 11th show when we were talking about growth IQ and the sort of taking care of your base of customers, is that sort of network effect also if you are not selling something that's a platform,
Yes.
but you do have a large client base?
Well, I wouldn't. So here's where I wouldn't call it the network effect. Here, I'd call it the world effect. You create a world that people want to be part of, and it means more to them to be part of that world and to interact with other people in that world. And so it makes you more valuable, you, the provider of that world. So you could use in luxury goods, Hermes, as an example. So Hermes has got this extraordinary. It's last time I checked, the market cap was $260 billion, and it's only $16 million of sales. So the revenue, the market cap to revenue ratio is higher than Microsoft's, Google's, Meta, Tesla, right? It's extraordinary. Well, and it's a luxury branded good. It's not a platform. It has nothing technological going for it. How does it succeed to that extent? And if you then look at it and say it's a luxury branded good that does very little advertising. It does remarkably less advertising than Dior or Chanel or any of the LVMH brands, Gucci, Prada, all the companies. How could this be? What they do invest in disproportionately is parties. Getting invited, if you're a great Hermes customer in Hong Kong, you'll get invited to a $2 million party that has the absolute best chefs in the world at it, with absolutely extraordinary entertainment, where you hang out with, meet both Hermes executives, designers, and other Hermes customers, because you want to be part of that world that has a set of customs, culture, norms, conventions, and it's more valuable to you than the bag. You want the Birkin bag or the Kelly bag, but being part of that world is way more valuable to you than the physical good itself. That would be something that doesn't obey the normal economics of a business, the normal kind of sense of, well, give the users what they want or need. It says, no, we're creating a world, and here's how we as a company interact with that world to create that feeling. And so I think it applies to all industries. I mean, any company can figure out how to develop a world that people disproportionately want to be part of. They can also destroy one. Nike, right? 2.5 years ago, they brought in a new CEO, and he said, "Oh, we're going to dispense with all of this retail distribution. We're going to go direct to consumer. We're going to be like Amazon. We're going to make all our money kind of direct to consumer." And they didn't realize that there were all sorts of worlds around people who loved Nike, running clubs, basketball clubs, whatever, and they kind of were influenced by and organized around these distribution channels. The favorite running shop, shoe shop, suddenly Nike told them, forget it.
I think the mistake there specifically was, it was, to me anyway, when they made that decision, because now they're on Amazon, right? So that decision didn't go well. But it was a either or, where, it's like, does Hermes advertise in very, very specific places? And they have the event strategy. They're not running TV commercials or radio commercials. Okay. But they might be in Vogue, or they might be, they might be sponsoring the Met Gala, or they might, whatever it might be. Like they want to be where their buyers are, not sort of generally. And so I think in that particular case, but I think Nike tried to create that world with the Nike store and having it be an experiential and design your shoe there and go hang out with other people who like Nike. And I think they thought the brand world was going to pull people into the Nike stores only. And so then they said, we can do it better than if it were in the other stores, not thinking that someone actually had that affinity for their local store where they could go to get Nike.
Yes.
So the world was the store, not the Nike, right? I mean, in this case, right?
Yes, and the community around it, and you're right. I mean, you could do both, but if you ignore and tear apart your world, then people, those customers will react badly. And in fact, they'll, the reaction at Nike and how far they fell was in some sense almost inexplicable, right? It's how could that happen with all these loyal customers who've always worn, like, how could that happen so bad? Well, it's because they were mad. They had their world taken away from them in some sense, the world that they wanted to have taken away. So it wasn't just sort of, oh, it's not as good as it used to be. It's like, no, this is a destruction of.
Yeah, and I almost could argue, and I didn't use I used Under Armour in Growth IQ. I didn't use Nike. But I've used Starbucks in both books, Growth IQ and Experience Mindset. And I think Starbucks made a similar mistake. They just got too far away from what made their world so interesting. And they kind of lost their way and kept bringing Howard back to get them realigned. And then they had, a CEO who sort of made very similar decisions and choices that the Nike one did. And he didn't last very long, right? Then it was like, okay, who has made choices around that sort of world and that raving fan and getting people to come back and really see themselves in the brand and then be willing to spend the money and go out of their way to do something with that brand? Grab a CEO who has, in a similar vein, right? Someone from Chipotle who has created a kind of world, bring them to Starbucks. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. It's like, depending on when you listen to this, 6 or 8 months into it. I found it fascinating that the first 2 or 3 things that he decided to do to sort of bring back that feeling that you would have with a brand, I thought was not very impactful. Yeah. Like, I'm going to bring back the Sharpie. Yeah. Like the Sharpie is the Achilles heel. Like instead of the sticker, I'm like, I don't know if the Sharpie is really going to turn it around because you're trying to speed things up. And now instead of it printing the label, you're going to do handwriting, which slows it down. And then the handwriting is not always great. So then someone makes the wrong drink. So then they have to get it made again. So now, I'm not sure that's where I would have started, but obviously I don't have the inside baseball on this. Right. So, but interesting when people are trying to recreate what they might have had in the past versus they have it and they're able to keep it. Yeah.
And another example, if you want, it would be the Ford F-150, right? That is a world that I think the Ford Motor Company has done a great job of nurturing. And so if you sign up to be the head of the F-150 business, essentially your weekends are no longer your own. Because there are F-150 truck rallies in various places across America every weekend. And Ford people need to show up to talk to, listen to those groups of F-150 drivers who talk to one another. And there's an F-150 culture. One of the reasons why there hasn't been any sort of F-150 major upgrade over the last probably as long as you can remember, that sort of failed where they didn't get it right. They always get it right. Why? It's because the users tell them exactly kind of what extra they'd want. And they aren't these users who you phone up and say, what would you like in your, no, they're crazies who show up for all weekends and rally their trucks and race their trucks and create a world where they want to be with other F-150 owners. They want the chief engineer to come. The chief engineer comes to these things he or she is a rock star and has to bring all these posters of themselves in the truck and sign them for a pickup truck. And the same thing happens with Mustang. Those their most successful vehicles. Each of them has leveraged this idea of a world where the people in it care about the other people in it, want to interact with the other people in it. That's where Starbucks, I'm not sure, has recreated the world, right? That's how can I make this customer happier? I'll give him or her a Sharpie rather than a printed thing, as opposed to, why did people all want to be there together? What kind of relationships did they want? What did it make them feel like that they were part of when they were in Starbucks? That's
you could argue Harley Davidson's probably similar to that. And the long running joke for marketers is, you've created it when someone puts the tattoo of your logo on their body.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. But again, hanging out with other Harley Davidson riders, right, motorcycle owners / riders, is a big part of the Harley Davidson world. They don't collect riders, if you will, one at a time. They collect them as groups. And I mean, obviously, I'm enthusiastic about this because I think this is the next great evolution of strategy, where we started with understanding economics, we layered on user, and those are, I think of them as lenses. They helped understand and be able to say, oh, here's why that's working. And so we got a better, clearer picture when we understood the fundamental economics of business. Then in strategy, we said, here's how we think about users. And the next evolution of strategy, and the companies that I think are going to win in the modern world, are the ones where they're thinking about shaping a world and being a productive participant in that world that is welcomed. Their role is welcomed by the people in that world.
Well, I think that's a great way to wrap this up, because we're out of time, but the network economics, the network effect, the world, all these things. I mean, the whole goal of Roger and I getting together and doing these is, I learned something selfishly. This is how I do. This is how I wrangle Roger in to spend time with me, is we do this, and then I get to learn. But not that I have to wrangle him. He's always super kind in his time. But I selfishly want to learn, and then I'm like, let's share it with everybody else. So I hope you continue to see value in this, and how you're going to take the network economics and the network effect back to your role, and how you can champion creating a world where customers want to stay close to your brand and your company and what you're doing. So anything else you would end with us on?
And just close to the brand, your customer, and others customers. This is the key. You have superpower when your customers want to hang out with other customers of the same brand. Your F-150 is going to beat Silverado if people want to show up at F-150 rallies all weekend long to talk to other customers and be part of that world. So think about not just customer as an individual, but customers interacting.
Excellent. All right, everybody. Don't forget to pick up a copy of Playing to Win or Growth IQ and listen to our previous shows. Everyone always asks at the end of this, I see it in the comments, where can we see the others? You can catch it on LinkedIn, or you can hop over to my YouTube channel. There's a whole channel dedicated to Playing to Win. So thank you for joining us for the 12th installment of Playing to Win Practitioners Insight. I'm Tiffani Bova.
And I'm Roger Martin.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Bye-bye.